Airsoft was always a pretty big part of my life, especially back in high school. There was never a time where someone would ask me to go airsofting with them and I'd say no. I loved it. I loved it before I even got an actual airsoft gun. See, I was that poor kid back in high school who would always find ways to build an airsoft gun out of household items, and I actually used them against my friends. Well, when I was 16, I was able to save up enough money to get myself an actual airsoft pistol. I did a lot of research, and the Smith & Wesson M4505 was the one that I settled on. Now, granted, it was a cheaper gun because it was only a spring pistol, but at the time it was the most powerful spring airsoft gun out there. Plus, it looked really cool. That was when the real airsoft battle started, and these are the stories left behind. So I typically go airsofting with my friends Nick and Gage. We would hike a mile and a half just to get out of city limits so that what we were doing wasn't illegal, and that was how we played. Until one day my buddy Nick met a guy named Charles. Now, Charles was interesting. You know those people who aren't all there? Like, he was a nice enough guy, but he just wasn't all there, and you'll see proof of that pretty soon. Well, Charles invites us over to his house, and he has, no joke, an entire airsoft play area in his backyard. Well, I was down for that. We all went over. We spent probably 3 hours in total there, and that was actually the day that I lost the orange tip on my gun. Someone had actually shot it off with a sniper rifle as they were aiming at me. Well, the day was going normally when Gage's shotgun started acting up. Now, Gage had this thing in duct tape already. It was falling apart, but every now and then the magazine would slip out and he'd have to turn the shotgun upside down to make it fire. Charles saw this and said, "Hey, I can fix that. I know the problem." Now, we didn't know this kid. This was some guy that Nick went to church with, so Gage replied with, "Nah, I think it'll be okay." To which Charles says, "Nonsense, I fixed mine and I know exactly how to do it." Now again, this guy was a bit strange. You could tell just by talking with him, but he had such a confidence about what he was saying, so Gage agreed to letting him fix it. The dude takes Gage's shotgun, puts it on the table, unscrews it so it pops in half, and dumps all the contents of the shotgun onto his workbench. Springs were flying everywhere, little plastic pieces were jumping under tables and through cracks in the floor, and Charles has the audacity to say, "Oh, I see your problem. No, I wasn't going to be able to fix that. You need a new one." Gage was pissed. "What the hell did you do that for? It was fine." To which Charles actually replies, "No, you see, there's supposed to be a plastic piece right here, and it isn't there, so it was as good as broken anyway." I don't even remember if Gage took his empty shell of a shotgun back with us or if he just left it, but we certainly took off, and I don't think Gage ever did airsoft with us again. And not out of spite either, he just didn't have an airsoft gun anymore. Now, this second story happened a bit after, and I told this story before, but I started finding other places to play airsoft. See, airsoft is illegal within city limits, but if nobody's around, then it's okay. The biggest issue was I didn't want to hike a mile and a half, especially at night, just to play some airsoft. So what did I do? Well, I went down to the local middle school at around 8 o'clock and played there. And mind you, this was after the orange tip broke off of my gun, so this was double illegal. Anyway, I met this kid who really wanted to get into airsoft. His name was also Gage, which is kind of confusing, but he was a different kid. Anyway, he wanted to get into airsoft, so I sold him this little pistol that I had lying around, and we went up to the school. Now, the idea of the game was a spy versus spy game mode. Keep silent and wander around the school looking for the other person. First one to kill the other wins, and we restart. So I'm searching around the school for about 6 minutes when I notice noise coming from the gym. I move closer and it turns out that there was a girls' basketball game going on. Now I figured it was no big deal and I went to continue on. Now let me set the scene for you because what is about to happen next is important. The gym is in the middle of the school, so all the other buildings surround it. I was at the side of the gym and there's a door next to me, but only if I climb one set of stairs. Well, I hear the gym door open, so I press myself up against the back of the staircase so that whoever came out didn't see me. The kid leans over the railing just looking out and I'm pinned down. I start looking around wondering if I should run when I see movement on the roof of the library. I look up and there's Gage, looking down at me and pointing his gun. I thought I was screwed. If he shoots me, not only am I out, but he just gives away my location to some random dude, which could get us both into a lot of trouble. Do I run? Do I stay and get shot? That's when I notice him turn and aim directly at the kid instead. He pulls the trigger and I hear the kid yell, "Ow!" and run inside. Gage is laughing on the roof of the library and now I have no idea what to do. A second later, the kid comes out of the gym with a friend and they're talking about what happened when Gage starts shooting at both of them. I hear them run back inside and not even a full second goes by and a coach is outside. Now at this point, any sane individual would get low and make no noise, right? Yeah, that didn't happen. Gage takes aim right at the coach and hits him. As soon as that happened, the coach screamed, "Hey, you on the roof, get down here!" By this time, there was a large group outside the gym, all focused on Gage, so I took this as an opportunity to take off. I started running when I heard a couple of kids yell, "Hey, stop!" and I heard them running after me. I ran to the front of the school where I'd left extra BBs in my sweatshirt, collected both of them, and took off down the street. After I got home, Gage called me and told me he got caught. Apparently, he told the coach that he was sorry, and they just let him go. The next day, when I went to catch the bus, which just so happened to pick us up at that exact middle school, that was the story on everyone's mind. Every middle schooler was talking about the kid that shot up the coach from the library roof, and that mystery kid who they couldn't catch. I actually spoke to the very kids who chased me, and to this day, they never knew it was me. The first time I told that story, people were saying it was wrong of me to leave Gage like that, but that little prick started a fight I didn't want to get involved with. Plus, again, it was highly illegal, but I was 16. What's the worst that could have happened to a couple 16-year-old kids? If I tried going out and playing airsoft within city limits today, I could get into some serious trouble, even killed, but nobody's that stupid. So there I am a few weeks ago playing airsoft in the park around 9 p.m. Yeah, I am that stupid. My airsoft DIY video really put me in the mood to play airsoft, and instead of finding somewhere legal to do it, my friend Trevin, my brother, and myself decided to drive down to the local park and play there. The thing about this is there are a lot of cops in the area, so we just kinda had to hope that they didn't show up, and that just sucks. But what sucks worse is these parks are filled with homeless people and drug addicts. So if I had to run into one of the two, actually I have no idea who I'd prefer, to be honest. Anyway, we get down to the park and we drive all the way to the end. The first thing we see is this big silver 4x4 with the passenger side door open and some dude hanging out of the truck like he's definitely on something, with someone else holding him so he doesn't fall out. That was good omen number 1. We moved to a different spot across the park only to find a sedan parked down by the water with its lights on as though someone was staying there for the night. That was good omen number 2. We picked a spot kind of in the middle and decided to play there. The game mode was free-for-all and one BB would kill you. We started at my car and took off in opposite directions. I found a nice big Douglas fir tree and went and hid next to it. And guys, it was dark. Like, if I was in a shadow dancing, you would not see me dark. The moon was well lit, so if you were in the light, you were seeable, but this park was covered in trees. So I'm sitting there for a good 4 minutes when I hear this noise come from behind me. And no joke, it sounded like this. Good omen number 3. Now, it was pretty far away, so I didn't think much of it. I figured it was a goose or something, as they make some pretty awful noises, but I kept hearing it. A few minutes go by and I hear it once more, this time from somewhere in front of me, but again, pretty far away. This is when I see someone running at me. Naturally, I started opening fire. It ends up being Trevin, and he takes a couple hits before firing back. That's when my brother shows up, and we're all kind of just standing there close to each other, shooting each other. I could tell something weird was up, and Trevin kind of stopped us. "Hey, were you guys hearing weird noises?" he asked. "Yeah," I replied. "Why?" That's when he says this. "I was under a tree over there waiting for movement, and I kept hearing these screaming noises. At first I didn't know what it was, but it kept happening. I thought it was some woman high on something when all of a sudden, something starts walking down the path that I'm next to." See, the tree he was standing under was right next to a bike trail, and apparently he saw something start walking down that trail not 10 feet in front of him. He stayed completely still when out of nowhere, it made a shrill screaming noise that we'd been hearing all night. Trevin told us his mind went crazy, wondering what that animal could be. He thought about a raccoon, but no, they don't make that noise. He thought about a skunk, but it seemed too big. All of a sudden, he thought bobcat, and that's when he took off at the car. That's when I saw him and started to open fire. Now, after Trevin told us that story, we decided to go over and investigate. We sat under the tree for about 10 minutes in silence, waiting for the noise, and heard nothing. After 10 minutes of silence, I stood up and said, "Guys, it looks like it's just not going to call out." And right when I said that, we heard it again. Very close. We took out a flashlight and shined it in the direction it came from, and we saw this faint black object running towards some bushes, so we chased it. We got to the bushes we saw it run into. We were about 7 feet away from them, so we shined the light. That's when we saw 8 pairs of eyes staring back at us. Now, this was kind of creepy. We had no idea what these things were. It could have been a pack of coyotes for all we knew. This was until we shined the light just right to see an outline. These things were small. If they were coyotes, they had to be pups. We went back home, still confused, but ready to do some research, and after finding the same scream, it turned out the animals were foxes. I never would have guessed they could have made a noise like that. They almost sounded like screaming pigs. But then again, it was much better than getting caught in the middle of the night playing airsoft by actual pigs. Or cops. Yeah, cops would have sucked too.